What is up? 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 What is up, Grocknation? Welcome back today to the arcade for another Grock Stories video in Grockstar ASMR. Hope everyone's doing well and has enjoyed their. I guess it's not your weekend. It's a weekend for me. My weekend just ended just now as my days off fell from Monday to Thursday, so these are my weekends, I guess, my long weekend. I hope you're getting ready for this upcoming weekend at the very least, and you're having a very productive week. I figured today in the arcade we would be doing our 2024 year breakdown, like I did the year prior, and kind of give you guys an idea of what happened here this past year, which is actually one of the most significant years in my life. But again, before we get started, if you guys haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, be sure to give it the thumbs up. With that being said, guys, let's get into 2024 in Grocknation. Okay, so like I said, 2024 was one of the most landmark moments or years of my life for sure. A ton of shit happened in 2024 that's very significant that I'll remember for the rest of my days, which is pretty deep, but it's true. Obviously, I got married in June, but we'll get to that, I guess. The other thing that actually happened in the fall. That was something I gotta remember forever too. But let's start at the beginning of the year. Going back to January. We had just gotten over Christmas, our first year at our cabin. And as I said, Christmas last year we had my family up in my cabin for the very first time, my sister and one of her boyfriends. And it was a really, really good, enjoyable Christmas. And I really, really looked forward to my first summer with the cabin, which didn't disappoint. We would travel an excessive amount this year as well. More than we've ever traveled before. In terms of going down south to Winnipeg, back and forth. And if you're somebody that's unaware of it or doesn't really grasp the concept of just how far of a drive that is, it's an 8-hour drive there and an 8-hour drive back. So if you're someone that lives in the United States and you're driving through states, that could easily be 1 or 2 states drive there and 1 or 2 states drive back. So to put in perspective, it's a fucking long drive, and we made that drive 10 or 11 times. It was pretty excessive, and it cost a lot of money. Because every trip to the city at least is $2,500, $2,500. It's not cheap with gas, hotels, shopping, etc., etc. But it had to be done because we were getting married this year. So January we were relaxing following Christmas at our cabin. February was our very first trip to the city of the year. We went down to see Pantera, which I was super excited about, a band I did not think I would ever see live, as 2 of the founding members are gone. I'm going to try to give you guys a Pantera breakdown in a minute, or under a minute, so maybe we'll get a timer going. I'll try to make it quick. Pantera was a sludge metal band from the 90s, going far back to the 80s. 2 brothers as kids put this band together, Vinnie Paul and Dimebag Darrell. And they put out 2 or 3 glam rock albums in the 80s that didn't really fly until they met New Orleans Satanist Phil Anselmo in the late 80s. He joined the band and they put out their first heavy metal album in 1990. They were the heavy metal act, old school heavy metal act of the 90s. They got really big towards the end of the 90s. The singer ended up getting involved in heroin and other various drugs, which ultimately led to them disbanding their band. The singer would go off to form 2 other band, Damage Plan, which would result in one brother getting killed on stage from a deranged fan at I think it was like a club or a bar. And the other brother the drummer went on to form supergroup Hell Yeah. He died of a heart attack a few years ago. Was that under a minute? I feel like it was over. Regardless, it was a band I didn't think I would ever see live. And I know a lot of Pantera detractors will be like, well, it's not truly Pantera. No, I beg Daryl and Vinnie Paul are not there. They got really, really amazing replacements. I guess you could say it was like a tribute concerts. They're not the band. They're not gonna record new music as Pantera. It's just the whole tour premise was for the brothers. You know, the drum kit had both of them on the drum kit. They got Charlie Brandman from Static X on drums, and they got Zach Wilde from Black Label Society on guitar, who was a childhood and best friend of the late guitarist Dimebag Darrell. So yeah, it was a great concert. And those that said, oh, it's not Pantera, yes, it's Pantera. The lead singer is there, the bassist is there. They're only playing songs from the albums that they all created together. They're not playing any of the glam rock album music from the 80s. It's only music that they made, and you know, his voice is Pantera. You can replace the guitars and the drums with exceptional musicians. No, they're not the original, but the sound will sound exactly like Pantera. And that singer has gotten his life in order so much so that his voice has come back. You know, he's been sober now for years, and it's really shown. I seen him at Metallica in 2023, actually, the very first time I seen them, and I circled my calendar for February of last year because I knew I would see them in a more intimate venue in Winnipeg, and a little closer as opposed to the big stadium, Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Sorry, I just wanted to close my door in case you guys could hear the furnace a little bit out there. But yeah, so we went to that concert. It was great. Live Nation's been doing a thing now for the last couple of years where they make venue drinks. And for Pantera, they had This Love, which is a Pantera song. And I can't remember exactly what was in it. There was 2 rums and something else. And mango juice and grenadine. Long story short, I was so excited to see Pantera that I actually had 3 of those drinks. They were $25 each or something. It was stupid expensive. I had 3 of those drinks before the opening band came on, who I can't even remember who the opening band was. Lamb of God was the co-headliner, but I don't know who the opening band was. I remember drinking my 3rd one. I was standing in line trying to get a commemorative poster, which I did get. And I was getting drunk. I realized at one point when I was standing there, I'm like, holy shit, like I'm really shit-faced. I might get blacked out here if I keep going. And then I'm not going to remember this Pantera. I'm not going to enjoy it as much. I'll probably enjoy it, but I would never remember it. So I stopped, and I drank 2 bottles of water, and then I think it was roughly 2 hours later, Pantera actually came on stage. By then, I was pretty sober. I was able to drink a beer then, but yeah, I almost got blacked out before the fucking concert even started. That poster, man, I was pretty disappointed. Not the poster itself, it's a fucking amazing poster. But when I bought it, I took it to CoCheck because they said, well, they can hold your posters for you. And I had it, rolled up nicely with elastic band. And they're like, yeah, okay, they put it in the coat rack area for me. Like, hey, it'll be here when you get back. Here's your ticket. And I went on my way. At the end of the show, when I went to go grab it, it was actually under a coat rack, and it was squished. Like, they squeezed it under a coat rack. One of those movable coat racks on wheels. And it was flattened, and I'm like, what the fuck? And now it was big. There's a permanent crease in the bottom center of the poster. I have it in a poster frame like these guys here, but if you look really closely, you can kind of see it bugs me, because it's not like it's a really hard canvas, like, not canvas, I'm not sure what the material is, but it's hard, so it can bend, right? You can bend it and destroy it. And I was kind of pissed off. I'm like, why would you guys do that? Why wouldn't you just stand it up in a corner, like leave it rolled up in a corner? I was pissed. But we went out. We had a really nice Valentine's Day Valentine's Day dinner that night, or 2 nights prior, because it was on the 16th, this concert, and Valentine's Day is obviously the 14th. I was really excited because my birthday was that week, and they kept saying that, I was going to see Pantera play a new level. Well, on the week I hit a new level, so that was pretty fun. But yeah, so that was Pantera. We went to that in February. That was our first trip to Winnipeg for the year. So I should say around this time, we're actively getting ready for our wedding in June. Planning, buying things, looking at things online, all that stuff, all that jazz. So, I think it was April, middle of April, we went back to Winnipeg again, and we went to go look for wedding stuff, like at IKEA, HomeSense, those kind of places, and as well I was looking at suit rentals. So I went to a whole bunch of suit rental places around Winnipeg, which isn't much. Like, people don't rent suits nowadays, they buy suits. And I actually was, something I was trying to avoid. I didn't want my guys to have to buy suits just for this event. And then we'd have to all have matching suits, and it's not as simple living in this little town I live in. It's not like, you're thinking to yourself, if you live in a city right now, you're going, well, just go to Moore's. Get all your friends together and go to Moore's together. It's not like that. I live 8 hours away from the nearest Moore's. So, I was looking at, I got all their suit sizes. And I was looking at just going down there and renting these suits for them. Well, it turns out, or getting prices, and they would rent their own suits. I was compensating for this, making them rent suits by, I bought them all cowboy hats for the wedding, so I was like, that'll pretty much, because those were $200 hats, that'll cover the cost of them renting their own suits. Had no luck. I actually had a guy that is affiliated with a store in Thompson that does suits, and he's like, why didn't you just go get it there? Why'd you come all the way here? And I was like, I can't get a hold of that woman. It sounds like she doesn't do suit rentals there anymore, which I guess she doesn't. And he's like, well, no, I'll get a hold of her for you. I'll send her an email. And she contacted me the very next day. And again, it's one of those small town things. She's out of the suit business now, but because we have mutual friends, one of the guests at my wedding is one of her friends. She did this favor for us one last time. She would rent out suits one last time, so that's what we did. We rented suits through her, but we went all the way to Winnipeg for that. I don't even think we got much from Winnipeg for the wedding and that actual trip. We got a few things decor-wise, but that was it. And that was, like I said, end of April, middle of April. And then obviously June, we had our wedding, which I have a whole video on if you guys want to hear about it all. It was amazing, though. It was so fun. I had my family in Thompson for the very first time, which was very nice. My cousin Joey, who was, like I said, like my brother, showed up, and I got to show him around. He's never been here, aside from the time we moved up here when we both went to Churchill. When I was 18 and he was 16, we stopped and we were in Thompson for 2 days in a hotel before we went to Churchill. That was his only memory of Thompson ever. It was nice. The whole event was great. I'm not going to go through too much on that again if you want to. I have a whole video about it. But that was nice. Now you're going probably at this point, what's with the whole Oilers get up? I got the poster back there. The hat and the jersey. Well, it's because of this here. You guys can see that. So, during wedding week, my team, the Edmonton Oilers, my childhood team, my hometown team, decided they were going to go to the Stanley Cup Finals, like the week before my wedding, and then the week of my wedding was the series. And I'm like, I don't need this extra stress in my life right now. So on top of, getting the tent ready and all this stuff, man, it was so busy. My childhood team is playing for the championship for the second time in my life. I get to watch it live. Obviously when they won the last time I was like 4 years old, and I don't remember it very much, or 5 years old. How old was I? 6, 7, 8, 9. I was 4. I don't remember it much. So, I remember it being on the news and everything in Edmonton as a kid, but that was it. Oh, excuse me. So, of course, they're in the finals this week of my very, very important week. And I remember just thinking, because they went down 0-3, I was like, man, just lose so I can stop stressing about this and just worry about my wedding. And of course, they went from 0-3 and they brought it all the way back to 3-3 for a Game 7 the day after my wedding. So right up until my wedding, I was fucking stressed about this stupid series. And then when it was finally over and they lost, they fucking lost, of course. I wasn't even really upset, and I should have been. But I was like relieved it was over. I'm like, okay, God, so the wedding's over. The playoffs are over. I don't have to worry about this anymore. Like, this summer stress is over. Obviously, like, I kind of told you how excited I was going to be about our cabin for the summertime. It was fucking amazing. That cabin we bought, I guess, November now, 2023. We enjoyed it the entire summer. We had our dock set up, and then we have basically our own private bay. And I sat out there. I don't know how many Moscow mules I drank in the sun there. How many swims I went off my dock. Just sitting out there with a lawn chair and music playing, listening to the Eagles and summer music. On chairs, and my dog laying beside me, and my wife now sitting beside me. It's crazy. I'm married even now. Yeah, it was easily one of the most relaxing summers of my life. Like, that was the single best investment we've ever made in our entire lives, and it's something like 90% of the world will never experience. A lakeside cabin like that is just, and that this lake. We're kind of getting off topic. We're talking about the lake now. A ton of cabins there, but they're mostly right next to one another. So when you go down to the water, their docks are like 10 feet apart. So there's zero privacy. They don't really have a view because maybe 50 feet ahead of them there's an island, like a wall of trees. I don't have that. I have a bay I can see clear across the lake, and I'm in a little private bay. Waves can't get to me, so I can put out a floating dock. It's a dream come true. And like I said, we're going to be moving out there in the next 2 or 3 years. I don't know what I'm going to be doing for ASMR, if I'm still going to be doing ASMR YouTubing out there. I think that'll be the end of my Twitch streaming days, as they don't have high-speed fiber optic cable internet out there. I'll be using Starlink pretty much, unless we get hardwired internet out there by then, which I do not see happening. But we currently have Starlink out there for our TV and mobile devices and whatnot. But yeah, great summer. Loved it out there. Obviously this goes on right till August, September, but I figured I'd just bring it up now so we don't have to talk about it for the rest of the video. But a great summer at the lake. So July, 2 trips in July. One, me and the wife went to Winnipeg again to go to the Great Outdoor Comedy Festival. We went to the Friday and Saturday show, which was, Friday was Tom Segura, one of my favorite comedians, and Saturday was Bill Burr, another one of my favorite comedians. Both great shows. For someone in Canada that's never gone to them, I'm going to give you some free advice. Always try to get the VIP. Try to get the VIP tables. You'll spend a little more, about $50 more per ticket, but you get your own table. What makes it worth it, which is why I'll always suggest this, because we had it for Tom Segura on Friday. We got upgraded for free because they didn't sell out the tickets. So it went by first come, first serve. We were one of the first people to buy tickets, I guess, so we got bumped up to a table for free. Bill Burr, obviously one of the most famous comedians in the world, so he was sold out Saturday. We had to sit with everybody else. What the Great Outdoor Comedy Festival is you bring your own chair, a lawn chair, and you just sit wherever you can sit. And they have the area in front of the stage set up for VIP tables. The reason why I say get VIP is the line is the number one. Your line is significantly shorter than the line for general admission. The general admission, unless you're from Winnipeg, I'll say it for my Winnipeg viewers. It went from Assiniboine Park, the entrance, all the way out down Portage. So think of it like 4 city blocks, I would say, roughly. That's how long the line to get in was. And then the line to get in concessions was stupid. I actually we put our lawn chairs down finally after about an hour in line to get into the park. And I told my wife, okay, I'm gonna go get us some mini donuts. Great thing about the comedy festivals throughout Canada is a lot of the eateries or the food trucks that are in the cities will be there for you to buy stuff. Well, Winnipeg's obviously a foodie, one of the foodie cities in Canada. One thing I really like from them is their mini donuts. You can get them at the Forks. And they actually had a truck set up. So I never got them during the first night with Segura, but this time, because I'm in VIP, they serve you. You never have to leave your table. You scan the table and they have servers come over. You get beers that way, everything. That's one of the other reasons I was going to say it's great, if I didn't mention that. But this time you got to go get your own shit, so I went and got in line for mini donuts. 3 comedians got on stage, did a little set, and then got off. By the time I actually got back to my seat, to my wife and Bill Burr just got on stage, I was in line for about an hour and a half. And I remember after now I was starving after an hour and a half. And you get a bag, it's 8 little donuts in each bag, or you can get a bucket. And I think a bucket had 16 donuts in a bucket each, and little tiny donuts like that big. So by that time I was like, fuck it, I waited this long, I got myself a bucket, and I got my old lady a bucket. And she obviously never finished hers, and I ate mine while I was watching Bill Burr laughing my ass off. So I have a very, very sensitive stomach. Everyone makes fun of me for it. Any kind of grease, anything like that, I get violently ill afterwards. So Bill Burr was amazing. We got back to our hotel, and I want to say about 2 in the morning, I woke up. Instantly had to go and get sick, and I vomited violently, woke the wife up. I had to go down to the front desk, and I had to go to the truck for some reason. Oh, because we checked in late. I didn't have my bathroom bag with me. I had to go down to my truck to get my toothbrush and toothpaste. And I asked the front desk guy if he had any Tums, and he did, so I took that as well. And so that's my memory of that comedy festival. But it was super fun and super funny. Both hilarious shows. This goddamn room and this mic boom and in a summer or winter time when the furnace is on in my house. Way off topic here. Like the animal hair gets in my nose or whatever. I swear to God, if you watch my Twitch stream during the winter months, you'll think I'm doing lines of cocaine in between games because I'm constantly sniffling and rubbing my nose, and it's just because the furnace is on. But yeah, great comedians, both of them. So at the very end of that month, I went to Toronto with my friend Jackass. We had a little Toronto trip. Should have only been 2 days, but we made it 5. Or sorry, 3 days. We made it 5 because he wanted to get a tattoo from a real famous Canadian tattoo artist. We went to Toronto to watch a teenage favorite band of mine that just recently got back together for a reunion tour. Creed, a 90s alternative music band. I'll try to give you guys Creed history in under a minute. There's not much history here. They were a college band in the 90s that got together and they created alternative music. Yeah, they put out 3 records. Amazing records, by the way, in the late 90s and one in 2001. And then they disbanded just from inner band fighting in turmoil. And again, much like Pantera, the lead singer had substance problems. I think he was an alcoholic, though, mostly. He wasn't into heroin like Phil was in Pantera, but regardless, it caused the band to break up. They went their separate ways. You know, the guitarist, one of the greatest guitarists in rock, Mark Tremonti, him and the other members of the band formed Alter Bridge and Miles Kennedy, another favorite band of mine. And the singer Scott Stapp just started to do a solo career. His life really, did we get under a minute? Like I said, there's not much history with that band, but I mean there is, but it's not Pantera-like history. Scott Stapp spiraled again. He went down another round of addiction, and came out of it for a bit in the late 2000s or late 2010s, and they actually got back together and put out a record, and they did a 2-year-long world tour of that record. And obviously, there are other hits as well. They're one of the biggest bands in the 90s. So they were selling out arenas, I always say. And even now it's true. I love Alter Bridge, and I don't really listen to Scott Stapp's solo stuff, but both those bands are amphitheater bands or smaller venue bands. Creed can fill out stadiums and arenas everywhere. It's one of the biggest rock bands, and it's nostalgia now too. So, like I said, they got back together, put a record together, and then they broke up again because there was animosity between the singer and the rest of the band. I mean, he was traveling by himself. He wasn't talking to them, off stage. And yeah, they broke up again. And that was it. And I thought I'd missed those shows. I just started at my job, and I was like, all their shows are in America. I'm like, I can't fucking go, but I'd love to go and see them, but it just never worked out. So they broke up. I'm like, I'll never get to see him again, though. And during that time, I think this lead singer almost killed himself. He put a gun to his head, and didn't do it, thank God. And he healed himself. He got, sober again, and he's been sober for years. And you listen to him talk, and you listen to him on podcasts, and I actually got teared up listening to him on Theo Vaughn's podcast. His life is so fucked up. Poor guy, but he got back together with the band. They talked, and they figured they would go for a summer cruise tour for the summer of 2023. They would just do a cruise, and people would buy tickets for this cruise, and knowing they would see Creed perform on this boat. He got such a massive fan reaction. They're like, okay, well, summer of 2024, we'll do a tour. We'll call it the summer of 1999, and we'll get bands from around 1999 to open for us and make it a whole thing. It's going to be like a music festival with Creed and 2 other 90s bands. So they announced a Toronto date for July of 2024. I bought those tickets in October of 2023. It was a long time, 7-8 months before the show. I bought those tickets for me and my wife. She couldn't go. She couldn't get time off. So I asked my buddy Jackass, and he really doesn't listen to Creed, but he's like, you know what, I can and will go because I want to get a tattoo in Toronto. I've been wanting to find an excuse to go, which worked out for us great because, like I said, he's an owner of Domino's, and he's one of the few owners that doesn't take advantage of trips to Toronto, which is like the main head base of the main owner of all the Domino's. He lives there, the main owner, and they get tax write-offs, business tax write-offs if they consider it as a business trip to Toronto, so they get free accommodations. And we were able to get free hotels as a result. He felt guilty about it, but that owner's like, dude, you come to Toronto once every 3 or 4 years. There's owners that come every 4 or 5 months. It's fine. He actually was going to put us in a dumpy hotel, my buddy Jackass, because he felt so bad. We were looking at $125, $150 hotels. And that guy's like, you want to stay there, just get this, get whatever you want. So we ended up staying at a really nice Sandman hotel near the airport, which I suggested, which was stupid to me because the amount of money we spent on Ubers to get into Toronto, if you guys know, the airport's in Mississauga. So we should have stayed in the actual downtown Toronto area, but regardless, it was a great trip. Seeing that band was so fun. It was an outdoor amphitheater arena venue, the Budweiser stage in Toronto for my Torontonians. I don't know what the fuck to call you guys. Torontonians, I don't know. Great though, super great. I seen Big Wreck for the 3rd time. Actually, they opened for them. I actually didn't watch them. I went to the bathroom, got drinks, and got t-shirts while they were on stage because I've seen them 3 times, including in Thompson, believe it or not. And we went down to the stage for the very, very opening band, which was Finger 11, a great band from the 90s. great Canadian rock band. I love those guys too. Like, they were one of my favorites as like a 13-year-old. They had other bands too that I really wish some of them were in Canada, but because the bands changed venue-wise. Three Doors Down is in some venues in the States. Tonic is in some venues in the States. Oh, I know I'm missing some other ones. Like, there's bands like that. Tonic, Big Wreck, Three Doors Down. Oh, there's more. Obviously, Finger 11. But regardless, we got Finger 11 and Big Wreck because they're Canadian bands, I guess. They got the Canadian leg of the tour. The concert was great. Oh my God, seeing those guys live, and they're so happy together now. Like, you listen to them in interviews and everything now. Like, they're all grown ass men now with kids, and grown kids, almost grandfathers. Some of them now because they're all in their late 50s now. I really, really, really hope their relationships stay good. I don't want Alter Bridge. My nose, God. I don't want Alter Bridge to end. Obviously, it's one of my favorite bands, but if Creed were to, do a reunion tour every 3 or 4 years, I'd be really happy. They're actually playing this summer in Edmonton in August, which I'm debating going to because we are planning on going to Edmonton this August anyway. They extended it to this summer as well. Like I said, man, once you open that genie's bottle with a band that big from the 90s, it's hard to put it away. It's hard to go and play those venues, make that money, and go, let's go back to our little theaters with our other side bands, No, that's your main fucking band. That's your main breadwinner. That's your main legacy is going to be that band. It's a cultural phenomenon band. Like, it's not, that should be your priority, in my opinion, as an Alter Bridge fan as well. Okay, so Toronto trip. Another little side story. I don't think I touched on this. We went to Canada's Wonderland in Toronto, which is it's a Six Flags amusement park. I'm just gonna talk this story because this is so funny. This is so fucked up. So, we bought skipped line passes, which are like $300 each, which is fucking excessive amount, maybe more. My nose, man, my God. Maybe more. So we wanted to hit all the roller coasters. They had new roller coasters since the last time I was there. And we did. We hit them all, me and Jackass. It was such a fun day. I could not believe, and afterwards I went back to my hotel and I was looking at reviews of this amusement park. I have never felt more old in my life. And I think of people my age that go to Disneyland, how they must feel. But my buddy Jackass has been at Disneyland, Disney World, many times. Both with his wife and kids. And even he says he has never seen that much of an age gap in an amusement park ever in his life. Like, I felt like I was 90. It was nothing but teenagers everywhere. That was it. Even working the concessions, working the rides. Teenagers everywhere. Very few people our age. There was a couple walking in as we left that looked like they were about 22, 23. And that was about the only adults I can remember, other than adult, like people's parents every now and then you'd see. But for the most part, it was teenagers, 90-95% of the time. And that amusement park reviewer I watched on YouTube who actually covered it, he covers all the Six Flags amusement parks in North America. Even he said this is the most youthful, I guess, or youngest amusement park he's ever been to in his life. I don't know why. And he was just Toronto. That's what the teenagers like to do there. They just go hang out there. And my God, man, where the funny story comes in is the way teenage girls dress these days is it's crazy. They didn't dress like that when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I think the most controversial, sexy thing a teenager would wear was, like, Britney Spears started the low-cut jeans, and they would have their thongs sticking out for a while. I think that was like a thing that happened for like a year or two, and then it left, and that was it. Now, my goodness, what the fuck? How people are letting their kids leave the house like this? I remember one ride. We were in a skipped line, which is different than the other one. So it's usually off to the side. It's usually like a main stairwell for the main area with rails going upstairs. and then we get our own little narrow one, which maybe fits 2 people side by side. And you obviously take that one and you get, rushed to the front. You don't have to wait in line. We were climbing stairs though, and I remember there was these 2 teenage girls in front of us. By in front of us, I mean a step up higher than we were. And one of them, the one in front of me, of course, had like cut off jean shorts. It looked like she cut herself, and you could see the bottom of her ass cheeks. And I remember I was like, oh my god, I was wearing sunglasses because it was like plus 40 that day, fucking hot summer day. And I was wearing sunglasses talking to Jackass, and she's right there. Like I'm talking to Jackass, looking this way, she's right here. And I remember I took my sunglasses off and I put them on my head. And I'm like, I don't want anybody to think for a second that I am looking in this direction, or if I am looking in this direction, it's past that. God, that's the last thing I need is someone recording, with a little YouTube short, creepy old guy at Canada's Wonderland or something. But yeah, like, fuck, man, I can't believe how they dress these girls these days, and they're, like, the parents, I guess, I don't know if I ever have a teenage daughter, 15, 16 years from now, will I even give a shit or bother to, obviously I'll give a shit, but I mean bother to, stop her from dressing the way her friends are, I don't know, anyway. But yeah, Canada's Wonderland, it was great. Obviously we had a lot of good food in Toronto as well. Watched Deadpool Wolverine there. It was a pretty decent trip. I don't get to travel with my friends too often. I think the last time me and him particularly wanted a trip was my bachelor party in 2020, so that was July. 4 weeks later, or 2 weeks later, I was off for the entire month of August for my seasonal vacation for work. Me and the wife went down to Winnipeg and just stayed with her grandmother for like 5 days, just to relax. We went to movies, went to a really nice dinner date night in the Italian district of Winnipeg, Gordon Avenue, a really, really fancy Italian restaurant, great freshly made pasta food. She looked fucking amazing. She had this beautiful dress I bought her, and yeah, it was a really nice night out. We watched Alien Romulus that night after dinner in IMAX. It was great. We also went sea-doing on the Winnipeg River with her aunt and uncle an entire Sunday from morning until evening, and went out there. Super fun. It sold me on buying a Sea-Doo. One of the purchases I think we might make this summer. Obviously we got the family pontoon we're going to use. But, yeah, those Sea-Doos were super fun. I never even thought about getting one before then, but, yeah, that was extremely fun. And then, like, 4 weeks later, see what I mean? Like, we went to Winnipeg again in September, to watch Avril Lavigne. Let me see if I can give you guys Avril Lavigne history in under a minute. No, I shouldn't have to, because she's still, she's a band, but I mean, she's a singer. She's a pop singer. She's never broken up with a band. I've been watching Avril Lavigne or listening to her since I was a teenager. She's a year older than me, so I probably listened to her till I was about 23, 22, and then I just slowly stopped listening to that kind of music. Her music kind of sounded pretty much the same, but fun fact, when I was renovating this house, her last album came out, her last actual album, not this greatest hits that came out recently for this tour, but her last album came out and we were listening to it while we were demoing this house, or renovating this house, and actually was a really good album. She's matured a lot, her music's really matured a lot, and, there's more mature themes, and there's, some of them, she's got swears in a lot of them, but, seeing her live was really nice, and hearing some of those old songs really took me back to being a teenager. And she's so fucking tiny, I couldn't believe it. We weren't on the floor for this one. We were right next to the stage at stage level, though, like 2 rows into that row. So I was at stage level where I was sitting, and yeah, she's like 5 feet. she's like shorter than my wife. But great show. Simple Plan opened for her. Not biggest fan of Simple Plan. It's my second time seeing them, actually. They opened for Papa Roach and Shinedown a few years back. That's the last time I seen them. And then Fifi Dobson opened. She was the opener. I don't know if anyone remembers who Fifi Dobson is, but she had a couple good hits. But yeah, it was a good concert. I enjoyed it. like 4 weeks later, 4 weeks later, we went down to Minneapolis or St. Paul's, technically, to watch Korn. Gojira, Korn, and Spirit Box. I was so stoked for this concert, you guys, and it didn't disappoint. I have been in love with Spirit Box since the pandemic. They really, really blew up during the pandemic because we were all stuck in our houses. And we were all watching YouTube videos, obviously, and they were releasing, music videos and putting it out there because they couldn't tour. They just got back, they just, formed the band. It was, this married couple, Courtney and Mike. They were from the band I Wrestled a Bear once. And, they left that band and they formed their own band, Courtney LaPlante, her husband Mike Stringer, I think his name is. They're from British Columbia. They put their own band together, I think, for those original songs. They did most of their own instruments, and if you guys haven't heard Courtney LaPlante sing, which is something to behold, Google it right now or YouTube it right now. She's like, I always say, she's like the female Corey Taylor of Slipknot. She can sing like Amy Lee from Evanescence. Like, she can hit all those notes. She's such a good singer, and she can scream like Corey Taylor. It's the most unusual thing you will ever hear. And on top of that, they have like a industrial 2000 sludge metal sound to them. That's what their sound sounds like, their actual musical sound. And then you have this beautiful voice in the front that can just... People always describe it, and it's true. She can sing like an angel, and she can scream like a demon. She is so fucking badass. And I love it that they're my age. Her and her husband are my age. And they're Canadian, too. So I was really, really, really looking forward to finally seeing them live, because they're so fucking big coming out of the pandemic that they're booked for years, and they fill out fucking arenas in Europe. So they haven't come home yet. Aside from the odd Toronto show here and there, they haven't even played British Columbia yet. Their home province. I've asked her on Twitter, and she's answered that, a bunch of us have asked over the years, when are you coming to Canada? And she says it's not possible right now. They're just booked until, I think, into the summer in Europe even. So, but she said her plans are they want to do a full Canadian coast-to-coast tour. And I was like, man, you have so many fans now. Like, I guarantee you they'd be sellouts in every venue you went to if you headlined. But, having the opportunity to see them live finally, regardless if it was opening band, they only had like 5 songs, 6 songs, but it was nice to see, and they were opening for Gojira and Korn. I mean, Gojira is one of my favorite active bands, I would say, in the world right now. They have been since like 2009, 2010. I've fucking loved Gojira. And Korn, I mean, come on. New metal Korn from back in the day. Oh, it takes me back to being 11, 12, 13 years old. Like, I used to fucking love Korn. I used to love Follow the Leader. That was my favorite album from them for a long time as a kid. Yeah, that was a treat to see live. Korn is a band I don't foresee being active for very much longer. I guess the lead singer, Jonathan Davis, he's still there. They got a different drummer, a different bassist now. The same guitarist, Monkey's still there. But, I see them kind of slowing down. So, these older bands, if I can give you guys advice, especially my younger audience, as you get older, and you get a chance to see these older bands, try to see them, because they won't be around, for much longer or forever. And you'll regret never getting a chance to see them live. Seeing bands live and live music, it's such a good thing for the human soul. And there's a few that I regret I didn't go to when I had the chance. Number one being Tom Petty. I skipped out on a Tom Petty concert in 2009. I had tickets for it and I just didn't go. I didn't want to make the drive or something. I can't remember why I didn't go, but I hope to see him in Winnipeg, Tom Petty and Heartbreakers. Another one was Stone Temple Pilots. They came to Winnipeg during Rock on a Range. Everyone was like, oh, I want to go see them. I'm like, yeah, but they're the only decent band at that music festival. Winnipeg used to have a music festival, Rock on a Range. I don't want to go just for that. And then this lead singer OD'd not long after, so yeah, go. You get a chance, go and see them. Especially if they're older bands that are just getting together for reunions. Get a chance, go. And Korn didn't disappoint. It was so fun. It was definitely a nostalgia trip. I said in the year 2024, you could have told me, if you would have asked me any time in my life, when would you have seen these three bands? Without me knowing. Or if a stranger told me, hey, one year I seen Pantera, Creed, and I seen Korn. Can you guess what year? I would have been like 99, 98, somewhere around there. They'd have been like, no man, 2024. It was crazy. I seen all three of those bands. And on top of that, Avril Lavigne, which I guess technically is 2000. But so yeah, it was a very definite nostalgia trip year for music in terms of that. Because that was the last concert. That was the last concert we went to that year. So finally, November came around. And I don't think we went to Winnipeg in November. No, we didn't. We did go to Winnipeg again beginning in December. Met up with the family for Christmas dinner down there. And we did some Christmas shopping as well. And yeah, just spent time with family and whatnot. And then we came back. We did Christmas at our cabin again this year. I decorated like crazy. I had a Christmas party. It was so much fun. It's like a dream. I always tell people that have never seen my Christmas cabin. It's like a Hallmark Christmas movie, I swear. My budget for Christmas this year was $1,000, like for Christmas decorations, I should say. And I spent pretty much all of it on my tree. I got a 9-foot Christmas tree. Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted a massive tree, 12-foot tree, but we never have ceilings big enough, It's rare unless you own a really, really nice home to have a ceiling that high. So my cabin, it's got a cathedral ceiling, and I was able to fit it perfectly where it was. I can't fit a star on it, but a massive Christmas tree in that space really made that fucking place like shine that much more for Christmas. It was fucking great. Yeah, I spoiled my wife at Christmas time. She spoiled me as well. I don't know if you guys can see. I got a couple new bobbleheads back here, McDavid and Dreisaitl. You can see them there. Yeah, it was a good Christmas. 2024 ended there, but I feel I should say, at the end of 2024, I told my wife, we looked at the money we spent just on trips alone plus the wedding for that year, and I said, man, we gotta stop going to the city so often. Like, I think this is when we were coming back from Winnipeg in December. I was like, okay, I think we're done going to the city. We're gonna winter in Thompson right until June, because we have Dutch family coming up in June, and they're visiting family in Winnipeg. We're gonna go down and see them. So let's do that. We can start saving money again, which we didn't. Since the wedding, we've just been spinning our tires. We haven't gained, we hadn't lost. We're just spinning our tires finance-wise. Whereas before, we were always making money and saving money. But then when I look back on everything we did in 2024, I'm like, no wonder we didn't save any money. But yeah, so I told her that, and we were in a car ride back, our 8-hour drive back, and she's like, okay, well, I gotta tell you something then. I said, what's that? She says, I actually bought you those tickets to that comedy show on January 3rd that you were talking about for Christmas. I was like, what? She goes, yeah, the Jim Jeffries, Jimmy Carr show. I bought you tickets for that, so I was like, oh, fuck, okay, well, we'll go to that, and then after that, we're gonna winter in Thompson. So I just came back from Jimmy Carr, Jim Jeffries a couple weeks ago, my wife's Christmas gift to me. I figured I'll include that in here, because it's 3 days after 2024, but it was bought in 2024. That was a super fun show, super fucking hilarious. Those guys, if you like dark comedy, those two guys and Anthony Jeselnik are the kings of dark comedy, and you just needed Jeselnik there to finish it, but it was great. It was a great show. But I think I touched up on everything in 2024. Oh, I forgot to say the other event that I would remember. It's kind of deep, this one, for 2024 was the man that raised me, my dad growing up, actually passed away in, was it October or November? I think it was the end of October, it was November. Yeah, because I remember reading his obituary. And, I've had people reach out to me, people from this community, give condolences, and I appreciate it for sure. The man raised me from birth until I was 17, and then we went our separate ways after my mother died. We had a falling out. I think I talked about this story in my life. If you ever want to, I don't want to get too much into it here, but so I talked to him once when I first moved to Thompson. I got a hold of his number somehow, and I called him. Now he was still living where I left him. Then I talked to him there for about 20 minutes, and then I talked to him again in 2013. My aunt I was visiting in Saskatoon actually had his number, so I talked to him then for like half an hour, and then I never seen him again. Never heard from him, never seen him. He's never reached out. I should say by the time I called him in 2013, he was married again by then, and I went to visit him in 2022. On my way to visit a sick aunt. I stopped by a little reserve. I heard he was living on with his new wife, and I just decided to stop in with my cousin Joey, and we seen him. And it's like I said in my obituary post I made on my Instagram, he didn't recognize me. I talked to his daughter recently, and after the wedding, or funeral, sorry. And she told me that she's got a thyroid issue, that it's hereditary. He might have it as well, and it causes you to have short-term memory loss. Or not short-term memory loss, but just foggy memory. And he was 70 when he died, so she's like, he might have just forgot, or, and I was like, I don't know how you forget that, though, 17 years raising somebody. So it really left a bad taste in my mouth, I visited him for an hour. He never once asked about my life here, how things are. I would have to bring it up. I asked questions about, growing up and everything, with him in the household, and our household finances, things like that, things you wonder now when you're an adult, but when you were a kid. And I remember it seemed like he lied about the finances he made because we were fucking dirt poor. I think he lied because he knows how much money I was making where I was working. It's almost like he wanted to one-up it, I guess. As soon as we left there, I did a currency converter of how much money he claims he would make every 2 weeks in the 90s, and it was like double what I make now, which is, there's no fucking way that's what he made for money in the 90s. We wouldn't have been living in fucking low-income apartments, driving fucking shit-beater vehicles, getting dollar store things for birthdays and Christmases for the most part. Not always, but for the most part. So yeah, like I said, I talked to him twice, technically before that visit. I showed up to that visit. In the time, me and him went our separate ways, and he never ever reached out, so it hurt when he passed away, obviously, memories came back of, him and me when I was a kid, and I did love the man, he did love me as well, especially during that time, but, I wasn't as devastated as per se. Like, I was actually more heartbroken with my aunt the year prior, than I was with him. He didn't have a funeral, his family they cremated him and they brought his ashes back, so I didn't bother going to Saskatchewan, but that's another thing now I'm going to remember for 2024, though. Like, the two people that have raised me are now gone, they both passed away, so I literally have no more parents in this world, and I'm only 38 years old, which is crazy. So if you have both parents, or at least one, take it from me, be grateful, especially if they're in your life and they're involved in your life. That's a special gift that I never had the luxury of having from 17 years old on. But with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you had a great 2024 as well. But with that being said, thanks for listening, and have a great day, great night, whatever it may be, and peace out. Peace out, peace out, peace out, peace out. Bye.